Well, iOS 17 has been out for a little bit of time now, and I kind of want to showcase some of my favorite iPhones on this version of software. Now, I will tell you, if you have the latest and greatest iPhones, these will typically perform better on iOS 17 than on some of the older iPhones that we know, but you'd be surprised how good of a job some of these older iPhones actually perform on this latest version of software. Now, the iPhone 14s and 15s, for the most part, iOS 17 was tailor-made for these particular iPhones. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're going to purchase a device like, an iPhone on iOS 17, you're actually going to be purchasing an iPhone that is basically going to be one of the better performing iPhones on this version of software. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind, because as you go ahead and purchase something like, an iPhone 15 or iPhone 14, you're going to be getting basically a tailor-made version of software for these iPhones. The 13 and below, maybe not so much, but on these particular devices, almost 100% the case. So if you're wanting the best device, the most stable device on this version of software, theoretically speaking, the iPhone 15 and 14 are probably going to be the best, but I would probably argue that the iPhone 14 might be a little bit better, just because we didn't have as many issues on the iPhone 14 on iOS 17 as the iPhone 15 did. That's kind of the first thing that I kind of noticed, but that's kind of the thing that stands out to me the most. On top of that, with a device like the iPhone 13, I would argue that the iPhone 13 is doing a really, really good job on this particular version of software as well. Once again, it's not perfect, but I do think for the most part, for a majority of things that you're going to do with it, the iPhone 13 has done a really good job on iOS 17. I've been, using this thing for quite a bit of time now since it first came out, and I still think as of this point, if you're wanting to go ahead and purchase a device and pretty much move on with your life, the iPhone 13 on iOS 17 is doing a really, really good job, and I do think that is a very important thing to keep in mind, because you don't want to go get a device and have it already kind of be outdated. And not saying that that's necessarily going to happen with this particular phone, but you're basically going to be getting a much better performing phone on something like the iPhone 14, but this is still a really, really good device from that specific perspective as well. So that's another iPhone. Of course, now we're getting to the iPhone 12s and 11s and 10Rs. But the thing I'll tell you is the iPhone 12, I think, is doing a good job on iOS 17, but the iPhone 11 is actually surprising me how good of a job that particular phone is doing on this version of software. You wouldn't believe how good of a job Apple did with the iPhone 11 when it first came out, and this phone is still performing very, very well on the latest version of software, which is actually a very cool thing. Now, if you're wanting to go get the latest device, again, go for it, but I do think if you have an iPhone 11, this phone is still doing a pretty good job on this version of software, and I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind here as well. So those are pretty much the main things I pretty much, keep in mind. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.